Going a very searching physical examination, and it is the shocking truth that out of the 28 poor little rats so far examined, only 5 are up to specification, and the 5 have not been here long. Do you remember the ugly green reception room on the first floor? I've removed as much of its greenness as possible and fitted it up as the doctor's laboratory. It contains scales and drugs and, most professional touch of all, a dentist chair and one of those sweet grinding machines. Bought them second hand from Dr. Bryce in the village, who is putting in, for the gratification of his own patients, white enamel and nickel plate. That drilling machine is looked upon as an infernal engine, and I as an infernal monster for instituting it. But every little victim who is discharged filled may come to my room every day for a week and receive 2 pieces of chocolate. Though our children are not conspicuously brave, they are, we discover, fighters. Young Thomas Kehoe nearly bit the doctor's thumb in two after kicking over a table full of instruments. It requires physical strength as well as skill to be dental advisor to the JGH. Interrupted here to show a benevolent lady over the institution. She asked 50 irrelevant questions, took up an hour of my time, and then finally wiped away a tear and left $1 for my poor little charges. So far, my poor little charges are not enthusiastic about these new reforms. They don't care much for the sudden draught of fresh air that is blown in upon them, or the deluge of water. I'm shoving in 2 baths a week, and as soon as we collect tubs enough and a few extra faucets, they are going to get 7. But at least I have started one most popular reform. Our daily bill of fare has been increased, a charge deplored by the cook as causing trouble, and deplored by the rest of the staff as causing an immoral increase in expense. Economy, spelt in capitals, has been the guiding principle of this institution for so many years that it has become a religion. I assure my timid co-workers 20 times a day that, owing to the generosity of our president, the endowment has been exactly doubled, and that I have vast sums besides from Mrs. Pendleton for necessary purposes like ice cream. But they simply can't get over the feeling that it is a wicked extravagance to feed these children. The doctor and I have been studying with care the menus of the past, and we are filled with amazement at the mind that could have devised them. Here is one of her frequently recurring dinners: boiled potatoes, boiled rice, blancmange. It's a wonder to me that the children are anything more than 111 little lumps of starch. Looking about this institution, one is moved to misquote Robert Browning: "There may be heaven, there must be hell. Meantime, there is the John Grier." Well, S. McB. The John Grier Home, Saturday. Dear Judy: Dr. Robin MacRae and I fought another battle yesterday over a very trivial matter, in which I was right, and since then I have adopted for our doctor a special pet name. "Good morning, enemy," was my greeting today, at which he was quite solemnly annoyed. He says he does not wish to be regarded as an enemy. He is not in the least antagonistic, so long as I mold my policy upon his wishes. We have 2 new children, Isadora Gutschneider and Max Yogg, given to us by the Baptist Ladies' Aid Society. Where on earth do you suppose those children picked up such a religion? I didn't want to take them, but the poor ladies were very persuasive, and they pay the princely sum of $4.50 per week per child. This makes 113, which makes us very crowded. I have half a dozen babies to give away. Find me some kind families who want to adopt. You know, it's very embarrassing not to be able to remember offhand how large your family is, but mine seems to vary from day to day like the stock market. I should like to keep it at about par. When a woman has more than 100 children, she can't give them the individual attention they ought to have. Monday. This letter has been lying 2 days on my desk, and I haven't found the time to stick on a stamp. But now I seem to have a free evening ahead, so I will add a page or 2 before starting it on a pleasant journey to Florida. I'm just beginning to pick out individual faces among the children. It seemed at first as though I could never learn them, they looked so hopelessly cut out of one pattern, with those unspeakably ugly uniforms. Now please don't write back that you want the children put into new clothes immediately. I know you do. You've already told me 5 times. In about a month I shall be ready to consider the question, but just now their insides are more important than their outsides. There is no doubt about it. Orphans in the mass do not appeal to me. I'm beginning to be afraid that this famous mother instinct which we hear so much about was left out of my character. Children as children are dirty, spitty little things, and their noses all need wiping. Here and there I pick out a naughty, mischievous little one that awakens a flicker of interest, but for the most part they are just a composite blur of white face and blue check. With one exception, though. Sadie Kate Kilcoyne emerged from the mass the first day and bids fair to stay out for all time. She is my special little errand girl, and she furnishes me with all my daily amusement. No piece of mischief has been launched in this institution for the last 8 years that did not originate in her abnormal brain. This young person has, to me, a most unusual history, though I understand it's common enough in foundling circles. She was discovered 11 years ago on the step of a 39th Street house, asleep in a pasteboard box labeled Altman & Co. Sadie Kate Kilcoyne, aged 5 weeks. Be kind to her, was neatly printed on the cover. The policeman who picked her up took her to Bellevue, where the foundlings are pronounced, in the order of their arrival, Catholic, Protestant, with perfect impartiality. Our Sadie Kate, despite her name and blue Irish eyes, was made a Protestant, and here she is growing Irisher and Irisher every day, but, true to her christening, protesting loudly against every detail of life. Her 2 little black braids point in opposite directions. Her little monkey face is all screwed up with mischief. She is as active as a terrier, and you have to keep her busy every moment. Her record of badness occupies pages in the Doomsday Book. The last item reads, "For stumping Maggie Geer to get a doorknob into her mouth. Punishment, the afternoon spent in bed and crackers for supper." It seems that Maggie Geer, fitted with a mouth of unusual stretching capacity, got the doorknob in but couldn't get it out. The doctor was called and cannily solved the problem with a buttered shoehorn. Muckle-mouthed Meg, he has dubbed the patient ever since. You can understand that my thoughts are anxiously occupied in filling every crevice of Sadie Kate's existence. There are about 1,000,000 subjects that I ought to consult with the president about. I think it was very unkind of you and him to saddle me with your orphan asylum and run off south to play. It would serve you right if I did everything wrong, while you are traveling about in private cars and strolling in the moonlight on Palm beaches. Please think of me in the drizzle of a New York March, taking care of 113 babies that by rights are yours, and be grateful. I remain for a limited time, S. McBride. Superintendent John Grier Home. Dear Enemy, I am sending herewith, under separate cover, Sammy Spear, who got mislaid when you paid your morning visit. Miss Snaith brought him to light after you had gone. Please scrutinize his thumb. I never saw a felon, but I have diagnosed it as such. Yours truly, S. McBride. End of Part 2.